Drink it in, man.
Deep left side carry on. Picks on the block. At the 5. At the 2. At the 1 to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions.
Drink it in, man.
Get up, Stafford throws. It is end zone. Caught! Oh, baby, what a catch! Kenny Galladay, you're a freak! What a catch! Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Cornbread!
I love the Lions! Say it with me! I love the Lions!
Drink it in, man.
Detroit Koolaid drinkers. We are back in the house on a Friday, right here on the Detroit Koolaid Cast. Your boy Oakrey, at Derek Oakrey on Twitter. And you know who the other guy is on the show. He's the legend. He's the one and only. Just the guy that makes the show what it is, or at least that's what he tells himself. Grifka, how are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm back to drinking the Kool-Aid after you let me kind of talk, look at the dark side of things on Wednesday. The weather's beautiful. It's going to be another beautiful weekend here in Michigan. Another great weekend to go outside, not be cooped up. Gosh, and, as always, TGIF.
I'm going to have to start hitting you, Grifka, on the beginning of the show with a double bell when you say I'm good every day. It's going to be 2 bells for you. I'm just warning you. So keep that up. You're going to get the madness at the top.
Let me change it up.
No, I want you to do it every time.
I'm doing this podcast from a ditch right now.
I want you to do it every time so I can bell you. The more bells, the better, in my opinion. Grifka, it's a Friday. We're talking Lions. We got the Detroit Kool-Aid back out. I mean, let me pour us both a glass. Right here. Hold on, let me get the picture.
Drink it in, man.
Grifka, what do you got for me on a Friday? Don't get me all upset. Don't get me all bothered here early because I don't want to have to shout you down like I've been known to do on a Friday. What do we got?
Okay, so you want me to save the blood-boiling stuff till later, and you want me to start you off with kind of a softball that you can knock out of the park, or
Grifka,
you want to get the high-sodium?
Grifka, I gave you the sport we shall not speak of on the Armageddon show. Don't try to sneak it in with your euphemisms and your alliterate whatever you were trying to do there by getting that sport we shall not speak of in. Grifka, on a Friday I'm ready for anything you got, and I'm either going to tear you up or I'm probably going to tear up some writer that you're going to bring up that's going to just get me off the handle. So whatever you got, I'm ready to go.
Okay, well, let's do that then, because, I'm starting to get tired of this guy. We all know him. Pete Briscoe from CBS Sports. He gave the Lions, a C grade from the draft. And even though we all got together, we talked about it. We thought it was much better than just a regular average C. Pete Briscoe this week decided to come out with his top 100 players in the NFL. I mean, when you look at it, yeah, the Lions didn't have a very good year. But Pete Briscoe put 0 Detroit Lions on his top 100. I mean, he's got guys on there like Cooper Kupp and was it DJ Chark from Jacksonville Jaguars. He's got my favorite quarterback, Kirk Cousins. He's even on that list. I mean, it's just, I was kind of mind-boggling. Now, don't get me wrong. He has this, almost made it type or just missed, and it's about 40 guys. How can you have 40 guys on a just missed? That doesn't make any sense. But anyways, even your favorite guy, Odell, made the list, and go figure. And another guy's like David Bakhtiari, the tackle from Green Bay, whose best play is faking hands to the face twice. So don't you think? Are you telling me Kirk Cousins better than Matt Stafford? And Cooper Kupp better than Kenny Galladay? What kind of crap is this?
Grifka, what the people really want to know is, where's Baker Mayfield on that list?
He didn't even make the too close to, almost made it, type, because even Pete Briscoe knows that guy's an overrated piece of tire fire trash.
Grifka, I think we heard somebody say that before on the show.
I'm like, that's Baker Mayfield right there. Baker. Yeah, I just want to let you know. He sucks, okay? Yeah, there you go. Mark it down.
Grifka, you may think he sucks. You know who I think sucks? It's this guy, Pete Briscoe, this Rudy Poo that you bring up. Hey, Briscoe, I got a little something for you here. Hold on a second. I got a little something for this guy. Hey, Briscoe.
know your role, and shut your mouth because the people's champ is ready to talk.
Are you telling me there isn't one Detroit Lion in the top 100? Are you kidding me right now? Like, Grifka hit on some points. Kenneth Galladay's on that list. Get the heck out of town. I mean, Matt Stafford, quarterbacks I'm sure are devalued. So are players that didn't do good, I don't know, in the past 3 months when this guy actually watched football. I mean, this is recency bias, Grifka. This is the old, let me stack all the big names up top that make the programs and that are the ball players, like Odell. And then you put all the players and the teams that aren't loved at the bottom, and players that haven't done well recently. I mean, this is that pre-written article that you write at the end of the season and you save in your drafts of your email or of your publishing doc, and then you just hit go because you haven't changed it, you haven't thought about it. All he did was put like the bad teams low. He left all the teams that aren't the darlings of the NFL off his list. Put in a few like random sleepers, and then it's all the obvious, all the guys that were good in 2019. Like, this is what I yell at you about on the show, is like, it's not always about what you did for me yesterday. It's about what you're going to do for me. It's about what you can do. It's about your talent and like the overall construction of these players, these teams, whatever it may be. So these people come out with these articles. It might as well be titled like my favorite players of 2019 or guys that performed well in the last 6 months, because that's all it is with these things. I mean, it's not true like top 100 players in the league, because if so, the Lions would definitely be on it.
Yeah, I agree with you. Want to get that out. Obviously, my little tirade. I feel there should be at least one, maybe two lines on that. Oh, and by the way, for all the Lions fans that love Darius Slay like me, he did pull in at number 96. So still number 96. Even if he was still on the Lions, it would have been one person at number 96. So,
Grifka, you know why he's 96?
Why is that?
Because you shook his hand. You know why. I mean, everybody knows that's the reason he's done anything in the NFL, right?
Yeah, that's my biggest fear, actually. If they don't allow us to go to training camp, I'm not going to be able to shake Jeff Okudah's hand. And he's just going to be, D. Milner. That's the bad thing.
Grifka, if you don't shake his hand, we're going to be at camp, and this sound drop is just going to happen if you're not able to shake his hand. There's going to be automatic panic in Allen Park if that doesn't occur. I
know, exactly. We all seen what's happened, so it's known.
All the people.
Slate credits me.
There's going to be a chant that says, shake his hand, because if you don't, the people will just need you to do this for the team.
Help me!
Yep.
Help me!
Shake his hand, Grifka, shake his hand. Get him in the top 100,
That's all there's
please.
to it. Okay, next question. Saw this article as well. Stafford this year is he's in the list of long shots to be MVP in the league. Do you think he's a long shot, or with this offense where they could be, do you think he has a better than a long shot chance?
Grifka, did you say Stafford?
Yes.
Stafford!
Grifka, is this a real question before I answer? I just want to be clear.
Yeah, I like this question for you.
Grifka, like Matt Stafford, every year, here's the thing with him. It's been since 2011, 2012, when this dude put up 40 touchdowns and like 5,000 yards. Every year thereafter, you get a few writers that will say, who might come out of the woodwork and be MVP or be the top quarterback in the game? Yeah, you know what name they say, Grifka? You got one guess for me?
Baker Mayfield.
Stafford!
It's Stafford. And you got to work on your Baker Mayfield, Grifka. It goes a little something like this, as you would do. Baker Mayfield. You got to work on that. You got a few good gimmicks on the show, but leave the Baker Mayfields to me, please. Now let's talk about our quarterback again. His name is
Stafford!
Like I said, they always put him in there, and they're like, because we always have some decent weapons. You love that word. We always have a team that hasn't done much, so it's like, here's a sneaky pick. Here's the guy I can put in there that nobody else will think of. This will get some clicks. This will get some reads. Like, I heard this from Ben Solak of the Draft Network, which the guy makes me laugh. I like Select's takes. I like his podcast with Trevor Sikkema. Those guys are funny together. I mean, I appreciate him for his knowledge, but he came out there with this Matt Stafford best dark horse for MVP type of thing, and I like it because it gets us a little pub, but I feel like it's the easy button. It's the thing to do. I mean, it's the tricky name, but also like probably not going to happen. So, I mean, if people want to check it out, we'll do a Grifka cheap plug. Like, I'm currently working on my Matt Stafford fantasy football article where I mention this about him getting some MVP love. I give you his projected numbers. I talk about redraft, best ball, and dynasty formats where you might want to take Matt Stafford. I do the same thing in fantasy football. Like, I feel like he's the guy that I can wait on in drafts if I get him at the right price. Like, plus I have a bunch of other talented players. He can get me a championship, but I mean, I also feel like most times since 2011-ish, that hasn't worked too well. You know, he's always decent. I think I looked at his stats the other day, and like when he's healthy, he's going to be in that second tier of quarterbacks, you know, in regards to not the top 5, 6, 7, but an 8 to 12 area, you know, when it comes to stats or fantasy numbers. But I mean, I would think everything would have to go absolutely tremendously off the charts for Stafford to be in that consideration. Like, the Lions would have to go on a big winning streak, and I just see him, like, if he's healthy, I can see him playing well, but it's been so long since I've been wowed by the guy in regards to, like, you know, when he used to remember he put up like 404 TDs, or every once in a while to have that 500 and or he'd have 5 touchdowns in a game. That's been a long time since we've seen that type of dynamic play. So I think he's going to have a good season. I think he could have a really good season, but I just don't know how you get up in that MVP category when you got all these favored teams by the NFL and you got people like Pete Prisco, right? And like that, you know, we're not even in the top 100 players. Like, how are you going to win over guys like that and get to number 1 in the league when you can't even get in the top 100? Like, come on, man. Like, you'd have to have the most dynamic season ever to bypass the Pat Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons, you know, of the world. It's basically a quarterback award that helps him. But other than that, I can't see it happening, but I really hope Matt Stafford has a really good year for the team, the city, and just for himself to sort of put 16 plus games together where he shows off that rocket arm and he makes good decisions and he puts up yards and touchdowns. Like, gotta have it in 2020 and beyond.
Yeah, I'm there with you. That
so you agree?
Yeah, I agree with you. That he'll have to pull some of that magic out. Remember that year what he had 8 come from behind victories and stuff like that. They'll have to do something like that, and they're gonna have to win 12, 13 games, make a deep playoff run, for him to be considered that way. Other than that, guys like Lamar Jackson, defensive coordinators are going to need to figure him out. Pat Mahomes, he would have to, I guess, come back to earth a little bit. Writers would have to stop sticking their head up Aaron Rodgers' butt, making him sound like he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, even though he's getting old. It's just something like that, where he would have to do that, and people would all of a sudden look and say, like, wow, look at the year Stafford's having, because at this point, people are already assuming that, yeah, he'll have decent numbers, like you said, but all these other guys, the Mahomes, the Jacksons, Aaron Rodgers, those quarterbacks are going to be throwing up the mad stats, and that's ones that people are already going to, like, predetermine taking home that award. So let's do this. We're about halfway through. Let's take a pause for the cause and pay some bills, and then come back. I got a couple other questions for you. How's that sound?
Sounds like a plan, Grifka. Please listen to our sponsors. Really helps us out. Everybody, we'll be right back. Detroit Koolaid drinkers are back from the break. Hope you'll check out Spotify and Anchor Podcasts, as well as our other great sponsors. And thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for listening, sharing it with a friend. Always fun to talk football. I'm waiting. We're here in mid-June, basically. Like, hopefully at the end of July, we'll have training camps. So I really hope that we'll be able to kick up, some more Twitter conversations at that point. We're still waiting for the Lions to make the big move, which I said would happen right before the July 4th holiday, where they were signed Jadeveon Clowney, Grifka, to the Detroit Lions, have him and Flowers as bookends and have this new Patriots defense as well as our high-powered offense. So once that happens, I'll be yakking all day, every day. But we're here talking Lions here on a Friday. Grifka, what else we got?
Next question for you. Back on your Believe in cast that I was listening
Grifka,
to.
hold on.
You
This
mentioned,
is like, hold
you
on.
mentioned that.
Hold on. It's like the fourth show you mispronounce it. If you're going to give me a cheap plug and you've actually said you've listened to the show, which surprises me with all the functions and other important tasks you have to do that are way more important than this show, like, can you get the name right? It's Believe in Lions, the Believe in Lions podcast, not the Believe in Cast. Like, Believe in Lions. And this is the Detroit Koolaid Cast. Believe in Lions podcast, please. On the Believe Podcast Network. Give me the plug correctly, please.
So I was listening to your Believe in Lions podcast.
Thank you.
And you were mentioning how the Lions have a nice mix of young talent with veterans. My question is for you, out of that young talent, which one do you believe is the biggest building block for the future of this team?
Grifka, I'm not going to ask, is this a real question? This is a good question. Before I answer this good question, I'm going to tell people you can check out Believe in Lions. That's spelled BLEAV in Lions podcast. Drops every Monday, where I believe in the Detroit Lions by the end of this episode. So will you?
I believe.
Little R. Kelly drop for you, but Grifka, you're talking about the person to build around for the Lions. I mean, the reason I didn't ask you, is this a real question or rag on you, is because this is a hard one for me, because as much as I tout the Detroit Lions and I say, oh man, like everyone's ragging on this team, when you look at the roster, it's a young, financially responsible roster with some good young up and coming players, some good veterans. But like when you talk about one guy to build around, like the Lions don't have that premier, no doubt talent. I mean, the thing I would say is that, you know that I was a little bit in the camp of this might be the time to move on from Matt Stafford when you had the number 3 pick. And the reason I thought that to a degree, I know people on Twitter are going to go crazy because there's that group of people that he's untradeable. He's you just can never get him off this team, is like, I thought Tua is special in regards to winning. I feel like even if Tua doesn't come out and wow you with all of his statistical numbers, like he's going to be a better passer and a better football player, but have the winning qualities like Tim Tebow did, where he just every week after week when he got the start, like he found a way to rise his team up, and like next thing you know, they were winning games and nobody knew how. Like, for as much as talented as Matt Stafford is, there's been plenty of times where I feel like he has enough outside weapons. He has a good enough game flow going where he should win, and it always comes up short. It's not always on him, but it just always falls a little bit. So, that's where I was thinking, like, maybe we need this new quarterback to build around that just has that absolute winner quality. But on the side point, like, again, it's crazy to say this in 2020, but if you're going to build around one player on the Detroit Lions, it's still Matt Stafford. He's only 32 years old. You're seeing quarterbacks now play 38, 39, 40 plus years old for some of these guys. They don't get hit. They don't take the wear and tear like all these other positions. So let's say Matt Stafford plays till 38, 39. Like, that's 7-8 more seasons of football. I mean, that's 2 more contracts basically, like, that you could almost get out of this guy if you wanted to. Or worst case, was he hanging up at 36, 37? That's still 5 more years of football. So, I mean, he's still the piece to build around. I don't see any defensive studs. I don't see any offensive players that are like, hey, because you can't build around running back or wide receiver. You can't build around a tight end. You can't build around like a middle linebacker. The closest thing we'd have is depending on how Trey Flowers pans out. I think he's still 26 years old. He's got all the size and measurables you look for. A great guy off the field, and a guy that, if he produces consistently with both sacks as well as just consistently good against the run, getting quarterback pressures, like, you could put that blue chip on him as a defensive player, but he doesn't do anything that wows you, where you just, oh my gosh, like, he's just a unbelievable physical talent, other than you look at him and say, man, what a big, stout, good football player he is. So Stafford on offense, Flowers on D, but you're not going to build around any of these other guys. And some people might say that's a detriment, and I just feel like it's the 04 Pistons, where a lot of really good players, a lot of under-the-radar guys, and now they just have to rise up and play to their expected level or their optimal level, and that's when you'll see W's pile up, and then people be like, man, I I was looking at this team. We had like no Pro Bowlers. We had lost a bunch of games, and now here all of a sudden we're ripping off, 9 to 11 wins a season for a 3-4 year span. I mean, I could see that happening with Matt Stafford rolling and some of these guys coming into their own.
That's an interesting take, because I could have swore you probably would have went with like Kenny Boy or, Tracy Walker or something like that. But, going with Stafford, Flowers, I mean, I guess I wasn't expecting that out of you. So
you just can't.
I like that take.
You just can't do it when you're talking about roster building and position value. Like Tracy Walker can be all world. He's still a versatile, free, strong safety, whatever you want to call him, guy in the back end. I mean, same with Kenneth. I mean, he can be great. He's never going to be a top 5 receiver for me based on the other guys that are in the league. And the only way that you build around receivers, they have to be the creme de la creme. They have to be guys you have to double on every play. They're, same with running back. DeAndre Swift could be incredible. And I just feel like he's still going to be a piece to the puzzle, not the guy that you build around. Starts at the quarterback, defensive end for the most part.
Okay. Last question for you here. I was wondering on this. It's obviously been a while since the Lions have had a very, stingy, stout defense, however you want to call it. It seems like the last one they had was last year they had Sue, where they got robbed in Dallas. It's the biggest robbery in a playoff game I've ever seen. But it seems like Matt Patricia, for his defense, he prefers to do more of a, have the coverage, have the defensive backs do coverage as opposed to trying to blitz and get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. My question to you is, do you think the Lions defense needs to be more aggressive to create more turnovers and more negative plays? Or do you think they'll just kind of come into their own under Matt Patricia's system and they'll be able to generate turnovers and negative plays that way?
This one I'm a little torn on as well. On my Jadeveon Clowney show here on the Detroit Koolaid Cast, I talked about you got to be able to get after the quarterback. You got to be able to rush the passer. On my Believe in Lions podcast, I talked about the Lions don't want to do that. They want to cover. They've added to their coverage when it comes to Okudah, Harmon, Tracy Walker, Trufant on the other side, some other football players, Collins, that can cover on the interior. So if you're asking me what they want to do, I feel like they want to, back to front, cover, get some tip balls, get some pressure on the quarterback. Hopefully guys can be more ball hawks. Like, my big problem with Slay was always, you call yourself big play Slay. You only had 1 or 2 seasons where you actually got a bunch of turnovers. Every other year you're just wagging fingers and knocking the football down or being sticky in coverage. You're not making big plays. You're just there being, above average at the position. So if Okudah can get his hands on footballs, if Tracy get his hands on some more footballs, I mean, I wrote up an article on Lions Wire, USA Today Lions Wire as well, talking about I see Deron Harmon as a Glover Quinn type player where they both play free. They similar size. They can go get the football. Like Deron Harmon's had 10 picks in the last 3 years, like with the Patriots. Like that's good numbers from a single high. So I think they're going to go coverage to rush. If I had my way, I would beef up that other defensive end. I'd come after the quarterback and still, have the type of linebackers to play the run, and then hope that based on the guys I have and the increased bodies that I could cover, you can't be much worse in coverage than they were last year based on injury and whatnot. So I think that we'll see where it goes. I mean, I hope that all works out the way they do it, but I think just ignoring pass rush the way they have this off season and thinking like between the Okwara boys and Flowers and maybe Deshaun Hand at the outside edge that you're going to be okay. I think you definitely need another dynamic body there. The way the NFL's built now, you got to rush off the edges. You got to get after the quarterback, and that we did not last year. I mean, it's plain and simple.
Yeah, it just seems like since I've been watching the Lions, they very rarely do have that high pressure defense. They seem to play a lot of bend, don't break. And it just seems like with the bend, don't break, your defense tends to break more so than just bend and hold up. I mean, we all like, oh, great, the team only marched, 60 yards down the field and they held them to a field goal. But it just seems that key moments when they are playing that bend, don't break, they give up the score, the touchdown, where it cost them the game, and where we're looking for them to, get on the quarterback as soon as possible, blitz somebody, bring the pressure on that third and long, and they just don't. They'd rather just sit back and play the sticks and hopefully tackle the guy before he gets to the sticks. And I know a lot of teams believe in that. And, you watch a lot of football and that happens, but you do get those teams that, they get that nice mix where they do blitz a lot. They do bring a lot of pressure. They have that talent that can do that. And they're not just playing, you hold your gap and just wait till a guy runs at you and makes a tackle, go get the guy, so I would love it if they actually brought more heat and, put a little less, took some pressure off those cornerbacks as opposed to trying to make them cover for 4 or 5 seconds. I mean, we all heard the story last year where they're playing the Cowboys and Dak Prescott went through his progressions 3 times before he actually had to throw the ball. I mean, that's just sorry. So, I would love it, if they just brought more pressure than that.
So in short, what you're saying is you think the bend don't break is not that.
It's not that great. And I know a lot of people will be like, oh, they're just playing a prevent defense at the end of a half, but no, they're playing their straight up defense. They're just sitting a little deeper. I mean, the true prevent, you're dumping 4 guys way back. And I know we've seen it happen, like last play of the half or whatever. Yeah, you're doing that, but they're not playing a true prevent when the team's on like their 20, 25 yard line and they got to march 75 yards to go take get the touchdown. I mean, they're playing a little softer, but they're not playing as deep. I mean, because if teams are ripping off chunks of 15, 20 yards, you're not really preventing anything. You're just giving them a lot of field, and then you're trying to get your defense switch to that mentality of like, okay, now we got to put the hammer down, and the team just marched 70 yards and 45, 50 seconds. It's just not an easy thing to flip. So I'm just not a big fan of the bend don't break. That's just me though. I know there's plenty of other people that live by it and they're fine by it, but that's just me.
I know. I'm about to give you a quick counter because I feel like what you do, Grifka, a lot of times you just decide you don't like something, but you don't understand that just because you don't like it in general doesn't mean that it not only can't work, but it's not a good concept in general. Like the reason people run or try to do bend don't break is it's really hard to go 80 some yards on a drive and make perfect passes and not have a sack, a tip pass, a loss, on a run play, which are drive killers. So the thought process is to get them to dink and dunk, knowing that you're probably going to make a mistake at some point rather than have a perfect 80-yard drive. And instead what you see is, the Lions, got shredded. They gave up, all these yards and touchdowns, and instead of looking at the personnel that was out there. And it always comes down to execution. Like if you run this coverage versus rush defense and you don't have guys that are aware enough to jump routes at times, there were so many times where like somebody be on an under and like they didn't have that anticipation to go get the football. I was just watching the Cardinals game a little bit recently again, and like Tracy Walker makes a great play in the first quarter where he just flies from his safety position to the sideline, picks off a ball from your favorite player Kyler Murray, and like taps his toes and came out of nowhere with his go-go gadget arms. And all you really need are a couple more players that can do those types of things and have those type of skill sets to make the bend don't break a really good defense. Because now when people are trying to throw into zones and holes and openings, you've got guys like Harmon flying in to pick the ball off. You've got guys like Okudah that are sticky, that are going to not only be right there in coverage, but he's got great ball awareness, man. He gets his hands around a lot of footballs, and that's the only thing that was missing last year was health and not getting those tips, turnovers, and whatnot. So, and you can't be a rush only team if you don't have rushers. Like until they get Clowney, like I'm not calling them to rush a ton because they don't have bodies there. They've got one guy that had a really good pass rush rate last year, Okwara, who I think can be better, but he was not good. And then young Okwara, who is going to be just in the league. So, until they do that, until Deshaun Hand plays like, 2 games in a row without being hurt, like they have to basically base it more on where their strength is right now, which is coverage over rush. And we can both say we don't love it, but they're much more suited to do that right now than to say, go get the quarterback, go blitz all of our linebackers, which are what, Grifka? Slow linebackers. So it's better for them to play gap sound and to keep things in front of you and hope that other teams kill themselves than it is to bring the house and then get beat deep every play. That's my counter argument.
I see your point, and reasonable minds can differ. Is all I got to say with that. So,
ooh, I was hoping you'd say it.
You want to rush the quarterback? Stop getting coffee tables to go play linebacker. Okay, I mean, I work with a guy who has one of those motorized wheelchairs, and he moves faster than Christian Jones. So, I mean, that's all there's to it.
Christian Jones, good football player. Jared Davis may have a breakout season, and Jelani Tavai is.
He's going to have a break. The only thing that's going to break out is his shirt, because he's going to wear a medium. And since he bulked up trying to look like the Incredible Hulk, he's just going to like flex and just rip his medium shirt. So,
Grifka, you did it last show on your own, but I just got to prompt you because it made me laugh. What could Jared Davis do now, maybe better than he can covering tight ends based on his newfound physique?
Oh yeah, he could sell a pair of jeans with the best of them.
Oh, I laughed so hard when you said that. It was so funny.
Look for your local Sears catalog in the mail and get a picture of Jared Davis selling a pair of Jordache or something like that.
Oh,
Z
my
Cavariccis.
Unbelievable. Grifka, what else you got? You got anything else to get me all flustered or to set you straight on today?
No, it's Friday, and I know your apartment, you don't have the air on, so it's probably about 110 degrees in there, and you got some muffins sitting out on the counter so they bake. So, no, we'll finish that up. Is there anything else you want to touch base on?
Grifka, I brought up my place. I was showing people how tough I am. That I'm not some wimp like, I don't know, you that's got to have it at 67 degrees and be this guy all clamped up in his cool house. I mean, I'm sitting here. I got some fans. I got some windows open. I'm in the best shape of my life. I mean, I'm feeling good. So no worries about the temperature here. I mean, the only time the temperature is way above where it should is when you ask me these ridiculous questions from Lions 24/7 or any of this other garbage you do on a Friday. And you know how we end the show. I mean, this isn't Bizarro. This isn't Detroit Koolaid Cast Armageddon. This is our show. This is what we do. Grifka, do you have anything else for the people?
Nope.
Everybody, please hit up at GrifkaDKC on Twitter. And as I often say, I'd prefer it to be jokes about him, some of his gimmick lines, tell him how bad his takes are, remind him that he placed a far second in the Detroit Koolaid Cast Smack Talk contest. Again, you can listen to the Jim Rome Smack Off next Friday. I'll be doing that. Grifka will probably be at a bar mitzvah or out on the swing set or doing something stupid. I'll be enjoying the Jim Rome show. But for this episode of the Detroit Koolaid Cast, we'll get up out of here. We'll check you guys next week talking all things Detroit Lions. And another week closer, hopefully, to football. Hopefully at the end of July, training camps will go off without a hitch. We'll get football back as we're expecting, as the world comes back to a somewhat normal, which would be very great if it could do that. So thank you guys so much for listening. Take care. We'll check you next week. We're out.
Pack the bag, start the plane. This game is over. It is over. What a comeback by the Lions.
Drink it in, man.